Becky Pringle. It is Teacher Appreciation Week, and welcome to the show, Becky. How are you?
I am good. It's so good to be with you this morning.
I'm so glad you're here. Okay, I got a few things that I want to talk about. I'm a former K through 12 educator. I used to
Really?
teach. Yeah, I used to teach computer science at TC Williams High School. I was there for. I always say like to remember the Titan school, and people are like, yeah, that school.
Yeah.
I was there for a while, and then before that, though, ended up interestingly enough, I ended up teaching like every grade level in a short amount of time, plus homeschool. Because when you're like a vocational teacher or a career in tech, you see like most of the kids in the school. So I started out teaching elementary school. I started out teaching middle school, then taught elementary school, then ended up at TC Williams for the longer stint. So I'm so passionate about it, about education, about K through 12 education. And yeah, I'm excited to have you with me. So I'm gonna read your bio because I want people to know the fullness of who you are. And then I'll jump to some questions. Is that cool?
All right. That sounds cool to me.
All right, all right. National Education Association President Becky Pringle is a fierce social justice warrior, defender of education rights, educator rights, and an unrelenting advocate for all students and communities of color, and a valued and respected voice in the education arena. A middle school science teacher with more than 3 decades of classroom experience, she is singularly focused on using her intellect, passion, and purpose to unite the members of the largest labor union with the entire nation and using the collective power to fulfill the promise of public education. Becky is a strategic, dedicated, and tireless union leader who is, at her core, an educator who has been and continues to be motivated by what is best for students and the educators who have dedicated their lives to teaching, nurturing, and supporting them. Before assuming NEA's top post, Becky served as NEA vice president and before that as NEA secretary and treasurer. She dedicated NEA's work to combat institutional racism and spotlight systematic patterns of racism and educational injustice that impact students. Under Becky's guidance, the NEA works to and across I'm sorry, widen access and opportunity by demanding changes to policies, programs, and practices. Becky has a long and notable record of association advocacy at the national, state, and local levels. She began her leadership journey as a local president and then went on to serve as the board of directors for NEA and the Pennsylvania State Education Association. She also has served 2 terms as a member of NEA's executive committee where she distinguished herself as a thoughtful and passionate advocate for the nation's public school educators and students. Those who know Becky best know that she is also a passionate Philadelphia Eagles fan. Okay, go Birds. Loves anything purple. And for two special someones, holds the coveted title of the best Nana bee in the world. I love that. Welcome to the show.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. I think I'm a bit exhausted now.
Well, you definitely deserve some rest. I hope you're taking that for yourself because you are doing the Lord's work out here. Okay. Um, and so I'm curious. When did National Teacher Appreciation Week start, and how has it changed over the years?
So we started celebrating our teachers decades ago, and honestly, how has it changed over the years? As you read my bio, you know that I taught middle level learners, eighth graders, wonders of science for 31 years. So I've seen
Well,
a lot
you
of
have to
change.
be a special person to teach middle school, by the way.
In many ways, as you very well know. But so I saw a lot of changes, but honestly, the reason we started celebrating Teacher Appreciation Week is because teachers were underappreciated, and in every way. I mean, this is a profession that is mostly women. Super majority of them are women, over 78%. And as a predominantly female profession, we've seen throughout the centuries, honestly, a lack of respect for the important work we do. And it shows up in a couple of ways. It, of course, shows up in the compensation that educators have not gotten forever. And it also shows up in a play, honestly, in a way that anyone, you know this, anyone who has ever gone to school thinks they can tell us what's best for our students. They can make the teaching and learning decisions,
Mhm.
that they sit in a seat in Congress or in the state legislature or somewhere and make those professional decisions when they have not been trained to do just that. And so it is one of those professions where we constantly find ourselves fighting against that lack of disrespect in these multiple ways. So Teacher Appreciation Week was designed to lift up the profession of teaching and just lift up the people who decided they would do that work. Now, I will tell you, I love that, the apples, both real and fake, and the mugs and the jewelry, and all of those things that our little babies brought us, right? But what's happening in our country right now, honestly, with the anti-public education
Mhm.
politicians who are taking a wrecking ball to our public schools, where they're demonizing our teachers, where they are saying to us they don't care about all kids, just some kids. Our educators are in a place where they're finding themselves having to stand in even more gaps, and they always did that. We always took money out of our own pocket, or were we were that extra ear for a student to talk to. We're concerned about their physical, mental, emotional health, all of those things. We've always done that. But for the federal government to say that it's going to take much needed funding from our public schools and give it to billionaires like Elon Musk with another tax break, that goes to the very core of what we are trying to do to meet the needs of every student, especially our most vulnerable students, our students who are living in poverty, our students with disabilities,
Mhm.
our Black, Brown, and Indigenous students, our LGBTQ plus students, and they are under serious attack. And so right now, our teachers aren't just teaching; they're fighting for our students
Yeah.
right now. That's what
Yeah.
they're doing.
And also what I'm hearing you say is having an education does not automatically make you an expert on education. Okay, so people need to have to recognize that you may have been educated, but not on this. And so no, I love that. We've been talking about AI this morning, technology this morning. So I'm gonna ask you up next. I do a segment. It's called Queen's Court, and today's Queen's Court question is going to be: will the evolution of technology shift the value we place on education? And so I want to get your take on that.
Well, we of course know that AI is here, and as with other advances in technology, it grows exponentially. And fast, so fast. And so I put together a task force of educators from all over the country last year to come together and dig in and do the research, and also to just kind of practice and learn some about some AI technology in education. And I'm so proud of the report that we produced that said that as educators, we need to be leading in this space. AI is not going anywhere, but we do need to make sure that we put some guardrails around it. We protect students and their privacy. We make sure that we start to address the algorithms that are the foundation of AI, that we know do not are made by people that don't reflect the diversity that are in our public schools right now. You know that over 50% of our students in our public schools right now are students of color. And so if these algorithms are being made by people who don't reflect that diversity, they necessarily are going to make mistakes. They that might over-identify Black women when they're talking about discipline, for example. And we've seen cases like that where AI makes mistakes because they're not building in those differences. And so we need to make sure that's happening. We need to make sure that when we're talking about AI in education, that educators are front and center. They are the ones that are making the decisions. They are the ones who are developing the professional development for educators. They are part of that AI literacy that has to happen so that we're making the best decisions for our students. And I will tell you, oh my goodness, I'm so proud of our educators. They've been teaching across this country how to develop and use AI tools, especially to meet needs of students, in particular with disabilities, where they can match up their learning, the teaching and learning to those individual needs. So a lot of exciting things are going on. We just need to make sure that, as always, our number one thing is to make sure our kids are safe, and to make sure that the opportunities are there for all students.
One last question, because I know you have to roll. How could listeners support teachers and educators, whether they have, whether they're in school or have children in school or not? How could we be supportive?
Well, I'm using the phrase appreciation in action this year.
Hmm.
So if you're going to give your teacher a mug, just slip a note in there that says, "We care about you." So we called our member of Congress and we demanded that they not cut funding for our students with disabilities. We support you. So we already emailed our senator to make sure that we're funding our students with families who have low incomes. We know that you need us. You need us right now. You need our help. So we're using our social media to join and grow a movement that promotes, protects, and strengthens public education as the foundation of our democracy, honestly, of any democracy. So it's absolutely essential that people show their appreciation by taking action to ensure that every student, everyone, has what they need and what they deserve.
Appreciation in action. That's right. I love that. You heard it here. Thank you so much, Becky Pringle. We really appreciate you, and just sending you your flowers to say thank you for your tireless commitment to education, to teachers, to our students across the country. It is of extreme importance, and I'm glad to have somebody like you in that seat.
Oh, thank you so much. I hope to visit with you again.